Hello, my name is Salazar. I'm your host today for Our Ventura TV, and I'm joined by my guest, Jerry McWorter, which will be talking about the local music scene here in Ventura. Hello, Jerry. How you doing today?
Good.
Glad to have you. Thank you for showing up.
Sure.
So tell me a little bit about, and our audience, a little bit about the music scene here in Ventura. Let's just start off general.
Well, it's a sleepy little town, kind of Bakersfield by the sea by a lot of people's estimation, but there's a really good music scene here. And a matter of fact, there's a website here in town that lists called VenturaRocks.com, and it lists all the stuff where music is happening. And on a given Friday or Saturday night, there'll be 35 or 40 venues.
Seriously?
In Ventura that have live music going on.
Wow. All genres, all different types?
Everything from solo acts to duos to, young kid bands.
Wow.
There's a lot of good music going on here in Ventura.
And what got you give me a little bit of a history with music? What kind of got you into it? Did you play band in high school? What's kind of got you going?
I wasn't involved in the band at high school. I had a friend of mine that was a drummer, and he had a drum set at his house, and I was over there all the time beating on him and stuff. And I would give anything to have a video of me playing, sitting around, because I couldn't have had a clue of what I was doing. I was just making noise and beating on things and coming up with little beats and stuff, but I couldn't have had any idea what I was really doing, because he showed me nothing, and he was totally uninterested in drums. They just sat there in his room, like the kid that was forced to take piano lessons kind of thing. So I was really interested in playing drums and interested in music, and was an avid listener and collected records and was pretty into it in that respect. So that was really my beginnings of what my interest was. And I mean, I'm a blues musician now. I mean, that's primarily what I do. I played a lot of different styles of music, but I'm very involved in the blues. I say society, but the blues environment here in Ventura. And there's a lot of it. There's actually a Ventura County Blues Society, and and Santa Barbara, and there's a lot of activity in that world.
So why would you say, why is that? What's the history behind the blues movement or that community locally? Why would that be?
Well, as a matter of fact, Santa Barbara, the Santa Barbara Blues Society is the oldest blues society in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah, true. Which was in like 71 or 72 or something like that. So it was kind of a novel idea, the idea of creating a like-minded people, that creating a society, and it's still a very strong and kind of internationally known society of fans and musicians too. And they put on shows, and so Ventura is right down the road, so we're very much involved in that too.
And so I'm assuming that because of your connections, a lot of musicians, you have a lot of, just a huge network of all these guys. Now, is it difficult for them to sustain a living, here doing that? I mean, you think of, the poor, broke artist, musician type of thing. Are they able to make it here? Yeah,
there's a lot of music, there's a lot of opportunities for them to play. And a lot of musicians have got different angles. I mean, I'm on the business end of it too. I play music a lot, but I'm also on the business end of it. I have a production company, and we produce shows.
Right.
Musicians will often have their hands in other things. They might produce records. They might be engineers. They might teach. They, a lot of different ways besides just playing, at night, playing in clubs and playing casuals and those kind of things. So there's a lot of angles, and you've got to be creative. And just like any endeavor, artistic endeavor, you've got people that are very business-minded, and you've got people that are very artistic-minded. And to be able to do both, and you have to be able to do both. If you're an artist, you got to find a way to sell your product.
That's very true.
So the people that are better at the business end of it are more successful. But it's a good pond up here. It's way better than Los Angeles, which is down the road. And I gig down there and play down there some, and occasionally produce some different shows down in that area. But if you were a barnstormer flying around in an airplane or a carnival or anything like that around the country, you want to be in little small towns. You don't want to go to Detroit.
Right.
You want to go in little tiny towns, because when you do that, everybody comes out. It's an event. It's something good happening. The whole town comes out. And that's kind of the way it is here in Ventura. We're an hour from Los Angeles, but there's a lot more venues. They pay better. The music's more appreciated. The city is much more behind the music scene up here, and between the art walks and the different events, and And a couple of weeks ago, Ventura had what was called Music Week. So for a week or 10 days, the city did a lot of advertising and promotion, and so there was music in more venues than normal, or many more nights of the week, and all that stuff is that the city's behind it and appreciates it.
Well, that's cool. That's really good. That makes me feel good that the local community and the government is kind of held back in the scene. What got you specifically into blues? I mean, what is it about the blues genre kind of gets you?
Yeah,
What's that?
That's a good question, and
we only have short times. Okay.
I grew up in La Crescenta.
Okay.
And I used to come to Ventura to see the Grateful Dead at the fairgrounds.
Okay.
And so every year they played at the fairgrounds, and that's where I used to come. And I was, I guess I was kind of a deadhead. I never really looked the part, but I really appreciated the music. So I would come to the Ventura Fairgrounds to see the Grateful Dead, and there's a lot of blues influence in their music. There's a lot of country influence. There's a lot, rock, but there's a lot of blues influence. So I really came at the blues probably through the Grateful Dead, or through the Allman Brothers, or through the early Rolling Stones, and some of those other bands that introduced me. And then you kind of find yourself going back to the roots of those music and listening to Muddy Waters or Howlin' Wolf and those guys. But blues music can often be kind of a dirty word, It often, to a lot of people, it just means like lousy guitar garage band, And that's really not what it is. I mean, it's a truly American art form, and it got everything from rock and roll feel to certainly jazz feels to country types of blues. A lot of flavors in it. That's cool. It's not pigeonholed into one grungy
Sounds
thing.
like there's a lot of different spectrum, of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything from Louis Armstrong, huge blues influence, to real Chicago blues of Muddy Waters.
Very cool.
And even within the blues world and the music world, there's people that like certain styles of blues and don't like the other styles of blues, which is like rock and roll. There's certain rock you like, and others you may like the Beatles and hate Metallica. But they're all very much in the same family.
And as a blues musician, and also now you mentioned the business side, the promoting, what kind of what things do you do to help promote it? So there's these societies, but what do you specifically do, or what are some things that you kind of like help grow that community?
Well, I have a venue here in town that I produce music shows every single week at. We've been doing for almost 6 years. So within that context, you really get to know the people. And that's the most important in any situation, is knowing the customers, knowing your friends, knowing the people. And it's the same with the musicians, And by treating people good and being happy about what you're doing and providing, a service that people want. Right. It's this, I always try to explain to people by drawing a line right down the center, is you've got the front of the house, the audience, and then you've got the back of the house, or the backstage, you've got the musicians. Right. And you have to have a really good relationship with both sides. It can't be a situation where the audience is getting a great service and you're taking advantage of the musicians, because that's not going to work. They're going to hate you, and within that world, that bad reputation spreads quickly. And on the other side of it, you can't have a thing where musicians are making all the money and all get treated well, and the audience is treated like nothing. Right. You have to have a really respectful balance. And perfect balance of both of those. So, and it's just like anything else. It's service business. It's treating people well and making people have a good time, and musicians have a good time and want to play, and the audience have a good time and want to come out and support what you're doing. Cool.
Excellent. Right on. Well, we're running out. We're down to just a few minutes left. So I just wanted
one segment. This is a 2-hour show.
Yeah, actually, it's only 15-minute show. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. But why don't we give you a little bit of a moment to go ahead and state, what's going on with you coming up, maybe some website or information. How can people get a hold of you?
Well, my personal website is hihatentertainment.com. And it's H-I, like a drummer's hi-hat is H-I-H-A-T, entertainment.com. And that shows what we produce. But keep a close eye on Ventura. There's a blues festival, the Blues at the Beach Festival, which happened last year. There's a lot of good things going on in Ventura.
What was that website again you mentioned at the beginning?
Hi-Hat Entertainment.
There's
VenturaRocks.com, just like it sounds.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we'll check that out too, see all the venues that's happening here in Ventura.
Good stuff.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Jerry. I really appreciate your time.
Sure.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching and listening to us today. My name is Andres Salazar, here for Our Ventura TV. Thank you very much.